The eraser is pitch black, you know, latex oxidizes. Anyway, the thing that I brought today, some of you know I was a chemistry major in school, and this thing is near and dear to my heart. And it's a true antique. It dates back a ways. The weight's a little older. So let me tell you about it a little bit. First of all, if any of you were in the military, you know that you never called the rifle you were carrying a gun. If you did, you end up having to grab your crotch and recite this little thing. This is not a scales, this is a precision analytical balance. Balance being two sides to it. When I got this out of the box, it hasn't been out of that box for a long time, this tour worked, and Chris and I were taking it out, and the string to it broke. It's counterbalanced, so I have to take it off.
Don't say Chris and I, you broke the string.
Yeah, I think you broke it. Let me tell you how it works real quick. It's a little more complex than you think it is. When you see something on TV where they put gold on one side and some of these weights on the other side, and they look at this and say, well, the little scale comes to the middle and said, you got 3 troy ounces of gold, here's your money. Well, these don't work this way. What this works is, it's a very hard knife made of agate sitting on a piece of agate in the middle. Both of the pans are resting on pivots made of hard steel who are resting on agate. And what you do, you have to keep putting weights on until you're close. Then you push this in, which opens the pans. Lower that down, you see the pans become free. And this starts rocking. So if you're familiar with, you see it rocking, there's no, of course it's all out of kilter right now. It's been shipped from 2 different locations. It's been in this box in a pole barn, and I brought it in that box. So, a true pendulum never comes to rest. The only reason it would come to rest because of the air resistance of the pans. So it's swinging back and forth here on this. And you count how many spaces on both sides it goes, and you keep adding a little bit of weight until you get an even number of spaces on both sides as it goes back and forth. And that's how you know you had the right weight. Then there's a little rider on top. You take this thing and you hook it. That little rider is a horseshoe-shaped piece of gold wire. Unfortunately, I didn't find it when I took this apart, and I know it was in there. And it's so small, you would never see it. If it fell on the floor, it would be gone. So anyway, that's the only thing I'm missing. There's a couple other parts to this that are perfect. Now, you think back through the years when you were in school studying about the scientists of old and the precision that they were able to obtain with this. Some of the work they did in 17 and 1800s has really not been improved on much today. Even with all the precision instruments and techniques that we have. And one of them that came to mind was Anton Lavoisier in France between the mid to late 1700s was able to demonstrate that phlogiston did not exist, that he would burn, let's say, a piece of paper, and that he could capture the combustion products and weigh them. You have to account for the buoyancy in air. Weigh the combustion product gases, weigh the ashes, and the original weight was all there, plus the weight of something unknown. And thus he discovered oxygen, and he named oxygen. He did that with something similar to this. Now this is made of somewhat lined glass, which they didn't have then, and a few other things. Didn't date to the 1700s. This one probably dates to the early 1900s. But again, as crude as that seems, the really good technicians back then, the really good scientists could use this and get amazing accuracy. And I got 2 of these. The other one is called a chain-o-matic. Instead of this little rider, it has a pure gold chain hanging down in a loop. That entire loop, which is about 14 or 16 ounces, weighs the same as this weight right here. About 1 gram. So that's how small that chain is. And you would take a dial and twist it, and I had to use these in college we didn't have these balances that they use now, all electronic. They're done with solid state electronics. It didn't exist, it was all vacuum tubes when I was in college. You turn the dial, it would lengthen the chain and add a little weight to the end of that arm. They called them chain-o-matics, so that you didn't have this little loop thing.
Wasn't that quite expensive?
Yes, they were. This is an Ainsworth.
Yeah.
Ainsworth created almost all balances used in the United States. Both of mine are Ainsworth. And they were very expensive. And colleges had these in a room off to themselves with an air conditioner, back before classrooms were air conditioned. And the room was locked. And you had to get professor's permission to go in that room. So nothing happened to the balance.
That's marvelous.
What are those worth?
Huh?
What are those worth?
I don't really know what it's
I
worth
bet
now.
now it'd be a stronger.
$179.
I have a spot picked out in my house for it. Any questions about the Ainsworth balance?